ahead and call in at 772-220-9788. Again, that is 772-220-9788.
Righto.
All right, so we're going to start off today's first topic being just overall Greta Thunberg. So as we saw last week, I believe on Thursday, September 20th, there was major protest, but mostly amongst younger teens and such, trying to really advocate for action relating to environmental change.
Right.
I know that it wasn't really that prevalent here locally, but down south and in major cities, many teens skipped school.
Yeah, and then they were actually led by teachers and staff. So it was organized. So it wasn't really necessarily a youth led.
No, but the majority of participators tended to be like amongst the youth. But I know that Greta Thunberg started this off, and she's really been a major voice in this advocacy for the environment.
And she spoke before the UN.
Yes, she did.
It was the Youth UN Climate Change Summit, wasn't it?
Yes. It was. That was the essence of her talk was climate change, and she felt very virulently that all the adults in the room were responsible for bad things in our environment.
Well, I think that is true, and they do need to be held accountable, and leaders haven't really done much action relating to the environment, and something truly does need to change, because I think that no matter what, if you think that there is global warming or anything like that, or even if you don't, I think that everyone can acknowledge that we can always do better. There are changes in our ecosystems, even locally.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, down south in Florida, like streets are flooding occasionally, just because it's getting hotter. And someone brought it up to me when I was in Tallahassee this last time. Someone said that maybe this increased climate is maybe stimulating and expediting the growth of the bacterias like the green algae and algae and stuff like that in our waters.
Actually, it has to do more with the nutrient load.
Oh, I see. I did read, I don't know if I brought it up on one of the radio shows already, but there was an article published recently, or about a month ago, called Killer Heat in the United States. And, it takes the heat index, so the temperature along with humidity.
Right.
And right now in Florida, we have on a yearly basis, we have 20 days above 100 on the heat index. But in the next 20 years, that will rise to 120. So, pretty soon we'll have a third of our year in Florida be ridiculously hot.
That's if we're above.
Yeah, assuming that estimate is, the problem is, that's an interesting estimate. The problem is the estimates that they make today don't always plan out for tomorrow.
Right.
That's so you got to be careful. You don't want to put your hair on fire just yet.
Well, also, Solomon, that is if we're not totally submerged,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If the glaciers don't melt.
And they are melting. Like, I have truly seen, I remember going as a young child, they were definitely, at least in Glacier National Park, there were so many more glaciers than there were. And even before I was born, there were so many glaciers, and that's exactly why it was called Glacier National Park. But now I feel as though the name doesn't really hold up.
One of the things I'm worried about with Greta Thunberg is, I feel like in this day and age, and especially with our generation, because of the internet and because of how quickly things move on the internet, she delivered a very powerful speech, right? And she made a lot of very strong claims in there. But I'm worried that just because of how quickly the population right now seems to move on from things exposed to them.
It's like everything it's like every topic just has a week-long lifespan.
So you really
maybe
do
24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
one news cycle.
I found out because I saw a post on social media. I clicked on it, so that was my only exposure, right? And if I had checked a day later, it would have been swept up in that. So I guess people who really do care about those issues, I think it's very hard to expect people do things for you right now, especially. I mean, I see the ability to like create a protest, create yada yada yada. But I think right now, since stuff moves so quickly, you really need to be dead set on doing it yourself, or going straight to the source. You know.
Yeah, do your homework, really understand the topic, whatever it is you're passionate about. Do your research. Look at what you do in youth and government, right? When you go to pass a bill, you look at what the opposing viewpoints are on that bill so you can argue against those. So you have to understand what the opposition is to those issues.
Yeah. No, you need to be fully ready to get it.
Yeah.
And I think that what you were saying earlier relating to like social media, how it can potentially, well, it is currently almost a bad thing because it allows us to see so much news that only lasts for so long. But I think that it's also a good thing in the aspect that we are able to see these up and coming events. And like what you were saying, I think that we truly just need to focus on the problems that we are passionate about. And that's something that we lack in at least the current generation. And yeah, I think that just to kind of sum it up, that we need to take action relating to the environment. And I think that Greta Thunberg is that voice right now. Yeah. Who do we have on the line?
Well, no surprise. We've got John on the line. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, you didn't mention the coral reefs are dying all over the country.
That is
the
very
great
true.
coral
Yep.
reef in Australia is dying.
Yes.
And we got a president that doesn't believe in climate change. What you kids think about that? Huh?
Boo! I don't
got
very
us
much
out of
like
the Paris. We're the only ones that are not signed up to do something about climate change.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's. I mean, DeSantis was recently elected, but before then, for the last 8 years, we had someone who wouldn't allow the phrase climate change to be spoken in the Capitol. So, you know, I think it's really important that the young people do
do
start
something.
to get involved. You know, just because of the relevancy of the issue. You know, for us, it's something we see all the time. But maybe I mean, I can't assume anything, but maybe when these people were younger, they didn't see it in their everyday lives, especially with social media.
Yeah,
I have no clue.
I think that if you really want to incite change, then go out and vote for a new president if you really feel as though he does not fit your initiative and like goals in saving the environment.
But all politics is local, and so that means you want to get your local government, get that organized because, admittedly, federal issues are have a different reach, a different agenda. But if you want to deal with the issues that deal with you at home, you want to make sure you elect people locally that are going.
You're changing the subject, Frank. We're
No,
talking
I'm
about
not.
the president.
No, we shouldn't be talking about the president. We should be talking about. You're talking
Why
about
not?
change.
He's the one that's embarrassing us to the rest of the country. He should be impeached.
Oh,
I can't wait for him to be voted out of office.
Boo,
Well,
Donald Trump.
We'll talk about impeachment in about I,
mean,
would say like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's not on our topic right now. But I understand it's your topic.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
We will talk about that. Don't
reason
worry.
to impeach him.
Okay, thank you for that. I know that's your view every week, and I get that. Thank you. Okay.
Are you done with me? Should I hang up?
Well, unless
do you have something relating to
we're talking-
our
yeah.
topic?
Climate change?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Well,
because
the
no,
president of the United States is
let's-
leading us.
no,
Got us out of the Paris Agreement.
right.
That has to do with climate change. He
How
wants
about
to,
wait a minute? Well, let me ask you about. Do you know the Indian government and the Chinese government? Do you know what their position was on the Paris Climate Accord?
No.
Oh, well,
inform me.
I think I shall. They actually get a buy for until the year 2050, according to that accord. So that means they can pollute all they want. They already are major polluters, and
Well,
they're
actually,
allowed to pollute all they want up until that point.
I know that China's actually trying to take some action and
They
really
have to because people are dying.
they're trying to take action
Yeah.
in developing more in nuclear energy.
Right.
But
But people are wearing masks in China because they can't even breathe the air.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe 5 years is appropriate to radicalize, an industry.
Right.
Because to an extent, I mean, there's so much stuff that they have to cut down on and to match that Paris Agreement, because the goals set by that agreement is they're so like huge and
well, they're punitive to the U.S. and so the problem is the U.S. is a minor player on the global scale as far as
we're a minor
contribute.
player because we didn't sign the Paris Agreement.
No. Even when we signed it,
No.
They never listen. The Congress had an opportunity to pass that to ratify that, and they never did. They never brought it before the Congress for signature. So that's why the president could step out of it, but President Obama didn't feel he could even get Congress to support him on that. So
well, that just shows you most of Congress, mostly the Republicans, are in bed with the energy,
Get them,
the
John.
oil companies, aren't they?
Go for it, John.
They got lousy. Hey, I give $50 to the League of Conservation Voters every year, and they give me a report card. And Rubio's got a zero. And Scott, he surprised me. He's got a 67%, which is an excellent score for a Republican.
All right.
I'm really proud of him. He's changed his mind on the environment.
Well, yeah, he's and I think he started the whole notion about offshore drilling and not allowing that. And Governor DeSantis signed on to that suggestion as well.
Well, it looks like we have a comment on the live chat.
Oh. I was actually hoping to ask, isn't China, India's contribution to the rising global temperatures more damaging to the world than ours?
I
Yes.
believe that it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know that I don't have a statistic out, but
Right.
I believe, just thinking about it in the general scheme of things, they
Mhm.
are the major producer and we're one of the consumers.
yeah.
So.
I was going to mention that. I mean, it's easy to look at. I mean, it's easy to look at a lot of things, but
Mhm.
they definitely have a lot more pollution. But we also definitely buy a lot of things that they produce. You
Yep.
know,
Right.
so it's very indirect in that effect. You know?
Right.
Because
But
we
we-
don't have the same factories that here that they do there.
Mhm.
So it's a hard comparison to make.
Right. We used to, but we don't. And but if we do develop new manufacturing here, we got to build it. We build it to the new standards.
Mhm.
Right. So I think we got more questions.
We have another comment. Yep.
I-
Solomon's trying to read it with his
No, I
glasses.
can't
Nope.
read it.
All right. I'm
Might
gonna
need a
try to
better
read it.
prescription, Solomon.
Definitely.
Clear that we are a major potential influencer, but should we attempt to focus not on just but their outputs as well?
I think that it's important to look at the entire environmentalist movement, not just relating to the United States, but relating to all countries, because truly we are contributing to it, but we're not contributing to it the most.
Right.
And I think that all countries have to be held accountable. But the problem with that is that if countries aren't as developed and they are attempting to become more first world nations,
Right.
then they would
They should play by the new rules.
but rather they're going to attempt to become these become more industrialized
Mhm.
by obtaining natural resources and burning them and emitting more pollution.
Right.
Yeah, just so that they can become on an even playing field as us. Yeah.
All right.
Can we get the number back out there from our boy Cesar in the chat?
Yep. All
in
right.
case he wants to call in.
All right. So the phone number yet again is 772-220-9788.
All right, John,
Please
we're
call
going
in.
to clear our lines so we can get other callers coming in.
Okay.
All right? Thanks, buddy. Thanks
You
for the
bet.
call. All
Bye.
right, bye.
Also, what I didn't bring up before was that Greta Thunberg actually, as we know, she is one of the major, I would say, person for the environmentalist movement right now.
Mhm.
But a Fox broadcaster got fired for saying that
Do you know
she
which who the broadcaster was?
I don't know. I do not have the name. I think that I can pull up the article, or if you want to pull up the article. But basically, he was fired for saying that Greta Thunberg was a mentally ill child that should not be at the front of the environmentalist fight, that it should rather be a scientist. So I was just wondering, what are your opinions of that?
I mean, well, one, that's a very rude thing to say to someone.
Very, very rude.
But I also think that, while scientists are backing these claims and providing these statistics, I don't think they're necessarily the people that can change the masses' opinion. I mean, the fact that she is 16 years old, the fact that she is mentally disabled is part of the reason why she's getting so much attention and so many people are passionate because of her. I mean, there's just so much power in an icon and champion than there is in the actual statistics,
Gage, what do you think about it?
I like her. She's cool. I think all the kind of vitriol and freaking out about her is a little weird because she's like a teenager.
Yeah, she's just attempting to aid.
And also, I think she's been successful. Like the climate strikes, I don't think they were obviously sourced from one person, but I feel like her kind of effect on having, I think it was like 4 million people do the climate strike, I think worldwide. That's pretty like big and important for, I guess, not, like I said, not one person, but like for kind of a spearhead to pull off for just like a teenager.
Yeah, I think that she actually started it. She first started off by skipping school and standing in front of her local parliament, and it just grew. She
seems cool. Big fan. Miss Thunberg.
I just know that, as I said before, a lot of, like, including the Fox broadcaster, that a lot of people don't see her as an actual, like, viable source of not only information, but being, like, the front of this issue. And I see where some are coming from, because, like, how much can you trust from just a child? But it seems as though, like, as a defense for that, like, she is knowledgeable and she is truly putting in all of her effort. And that's, like, in contrast to a lot of the scientists, that it seems as though that's not really one of their major concerns.
I mean, if you can read, you can see what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be a 40-year-old guy to realize that climate change is happening and that it's like an important issue to talk about.
I could not find anything online about a Fox News broadcaster that was recently fired as a result of that.
I think I've heard about people getting in trouble, though. For
I'm sure of it, but I don't know about fired. Sometimes the rhetoric gets a little more less accurate, let's say, more verbose than correct. But
I think waiting for like the right person or the right time for something like this is kind of a silly thing to bring up.
I agree.
I think that I accidentally did not read the article or remember the article correctly. It was actually just a guest, but it's still, I remember something saying that he was fired.
I thought I read something like that too.
You fired a guest?
I don't know exactly, but I remember specifically that he was fired. And
so it's a Fox contributor.
Probably, not correspondent. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a whole
big
different
difference.
Yeah,
big
contributors,
difference.
they come and go with all the networks, right? They fall in and out of favor. So
I just think that it was a little bit rash to fire him in a way. I understand that it is totally not okay to say that the words like a mentally ill child, because that truly like is not acceptable. But to have his entire livelihood ruined over those three words.
Contributors are also opinion people, and they're getting paid for their opinion.
And now basically at this point, his opinion isn't going to be respected because of those statements now.
So, okay. Yeah. So anyways, that's
all
right.
Sorry,
we've got 5 minutes before our next break. WSTU. All right, we got 5 minutes. Okay, then we got to go to break. Stand by. All right. So we've got Bob on the line. How you doing, Bob?
Hey guys, I had to jump in on this because I think they were saying is that girl was being used like we think a lot of the youth is being used on this climate.
Well,
we are the number one best way that the rest of the world should follow, and when they get on board, then we can talk. This whole sustainable climate, sustainable borders, sustainable everything is being used against you guys. The same way they divide us along race, class, gender, everything. This is nothing says real global warming like a nuclear bomb from Iran. Okay? They're trying to avoid doing the budget, which they're supposed to give us every year. We have another continuing resolution, and they're trying to get away from the borders. They're trying to get away from all the stuff they should be talking about. You know, it's just getting to be silly. I mean, one guy, an expert the other day, the only experts that seem to be saying there is global warming are the people that are getting the grants from the government from D.C.
Right.
A lot of the other scientists are saying this is silly.
But
CO2,
wait. But
I don't think that's true.
Wait 1 second. CO2 and oil, he says, has taken billions of people out of poverty into air conditioners. I mean, you have to look at the bright side of this too. And this sustainable stuff coming from the UN. Yeah, they want to put carbon taxes that made Al Gore rich. They want to put carbon taxes on us.
But what's the point of air
UN
conditioners if our
basically
air
run
quality
by
is too
China
poor?
and Russia. China is one of the worst polluters. They want to get us with this carbon tax stuff to fund the rest of the world. Like, you know, let's be nice and feed everybody with all this carbon tax money.
How would China and Russia
the rest of
get
the
money
world's not
from
ready
our
to join
tax?
the United States yet. When they catch up to us, then we'll sit down and talk.
Right.
Don't try to come after us and loot our pockets and open our borders. And once we're gone, nobody's going to help anybody. You're only going to have the terrorists and the dictators running this world.
I guess the best way to analogize this for the students to fully comprehend what you're saying here is, so they get a job and the boss says, okay, are you right-handed? Yes. Okay, you have to take your right hand and put it in a sling, and you're not allowed to use your right hand. And you have to accept a pay cut as well. You know, and you need to do this for a prolonged period of time. That's part of your employment. And this is essentially what the climate accord has done to us in the U.S. They say, okay, you can work, but you have to work at a rate or at ability that's not to your full ability, and you get penalized if you do.
But what is the actual purpose of the handicap? Like, is the person that is putting upon this handicap, are they doing it for personal benefit, or is it just to help the environment?
It's to equalize, so it's the other parties that are playing in the same pool get to increase their ability to function.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's why the major polluters like India and China don't have to be an active member of the climate accord. So it doesn't make sense because they're major polluters. They should, if they want to play with the big boys, they're going to have to do all the things that's required, and why should we bear that financial burden of working harder, earning less?
I mean, if we don't do the burden though, like
but
then it's like a huge detriment to the world.
But the burden needs to be shared equally.
I'd agree.
Yes.
I'm not sure about Russia and China's role in the climate accord, but even outside of the climate accord, if you look at climate change as an issue, like removed from the Paris climate thing, I think that the U.S. should be doing whatever it can.
We do.
Even that's not true at all. I mean, we haven't.
That is true.
Also, I don't know how a carbon tax would go to another country. Like you said earlier, Bob, you were like, we're giving our money away.
That's the design of it.
No, a carbon tax would be like a federal government carbon tax.
Right.
How would we be paying that to Russia and China? Is it like a UN tax that goes to China's pockets? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're hearing all this sustainable this, sustainable that. Now we're having a sustainable concert to come in New York where they just had this climate strike. The sustainable, global citizens. That's what they want us to be. That's what the Democrats were gearing us towards. We were going to hand over this country to the UN, which is basically Russia and China. They call the shots because they have the votes or whatever, the power. This is all a scam, guys. We have a lot more serious things to worry about, and securing this country and getting this country back on track like we are or trying to do, but we're being disrupted. They're throwing this at you to get you diverted. We have so many other things that are more important, and if this country fails, this whole earth fails. We're the last lifeboat. Don't poke holes in us and don't come after our pockets, because once we get like them, it ain't going to be all nice and sweet like you think it is. It's going to be like Cuba, where you got promised everything and you get nothing.
Well, like Venezuela all over again, yeah.
Venezuela was one of the richest countries a couple of years ago. What happened? This is what they're trying to do to us here. The whole world wants us to fund the bills and drag us down. We can't allow that. We have to remain strong for the whole world.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we are the world's police force. I hate it, but that's the truth.
All right, Bob. Well, we got to complete our break here, so we'll be right back. Stick with us.
Bob.
Welcome back to WSTU 1450.
Nice job, Solomon. Yeah. Sorry for putting you on the spot like that. All right. So we're going to bring it back with the topic that one of our callers brought up earlier, which was recent talks of impeaching Donald Trump.
Yes.
Yeah, as of today, I think the House is only waiting on one vote to pass that to the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'll probably not pass in the Senate because that requires a 2/3 majority.
Right. And this is the thing, no matter how you feel about this president, one way or another, next year is our election cycle.
Absolutely.
The most secure way to change the occupant in the sitting in the White House is to vote in somebody different. So I think that's the best way. This other wrangling is, in fact, the Senate already, the leader of the Senate already said earlier this year that is not going to happen. No matter what comes on his desk, he's not going to entertain any impeachment. So it's not going to happen. So it's just a wasted exercise.
I mean,
so and really, and the leader of the Senate already, Mitch McConnell, already said that the best way to do it, if you really feel very, very strongly about it, do it during the election cycle.
I mean, I don't know if it was this year or last year, but the Department of Justice created a new mandate that says you can't press charges against a sitting president, which
it was a judiciary. It was an opinion. It was an opinion.
But nonetheless, it protects him. It protects the president.
I think that was just the DOJ, right?
Yeah.
Does
Exactly.
Congress still bring charges against him?
I mean, they are, but it was still like a statement by the Department of Justice
Yeah.
saying that.
Because wasn't that why Mueller was like, he did obstruct justice, but I'm not going to do anything about it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, the right thing to do is just to vote
Right.
in this
Mhm.
upcoming election.
I
That's
feel like
really
an impeachment hearing would bring out information that might be crucial to a voter, though. Like,
That's true.
if he is doing all this illegal, scummy stuff,
Right.
like, wouldn't a voter want to know that? I
Well,
guess.
I also
I think all that stuff would be freely available anyways.
Well, without the investigation, I feel like you
well,
wouldn't get as
the House can investigate till the cows come home. They can the leadership in the House has the proper and full mandate to investigate as much and as deep as they, the authority is deep and broad.
Mhm.
And so just because they're not going to go forward with the impeachment, whether they do or not, they can still investigate all they want. So,
And just for those who do not know why he is potentially being impeached is because he has reached out to the Ukrainian president to press an investigation against Hunter Biden and potentially also Joe Biden. So basically, Democratic lawmakers are saying that he is pressuring a foreign leader, which is against the law. So,
right. But if you read the transcript, it doesn't say that.
Yep.
And that's the problem. So you have people that paraphrase, that take a literal license, and in fact do not actually say what
is actually
the
happening.
meme.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem amongst media, not actually producing accurate information and just
Right. Yeah.
having the public misinterpret the core information.
Now, you and I haven't communicated before airtime, but I actually pulled up this soundbite for you, and this is from the chambers.
All right.
So this is.
I want to turn to the complaint itself, which is made public for the American public to read. And let me preface this by saying that I greatly appreciate your statement that you believe the whistleblower is operating in good faith. I think that's very important for Americans to hear. But on page 1, and I'm not going to improvise for parody purposes like the chairman of this committee did, I'm going to quote it directly. On page 1, the complaint reads, quote, "I was not a direct witness to most of the events described." This seems like a very important line to look into. And I
Yeah. So, and so what the Adam Schiff had, who's the leader in this congressional committee, did this whole speech where he paraphrased, and basically took all that information out of context. But that's what everybody's hanging on to because it's interesting stuff. It's red meat, but there's no substance to that red meat.
I mean, page 2 says multiple White House
page 2 of what?
Page 2 of the report, the official transcript, which I agree. I don't think enough people are reading it. I think you can't rely on the news. I think you need to actually read it for yourself
and form an opinion. Yep.
But on page
agree.
2, it says multiple White House officials with direct knowledge of the call. This is the call between President Trump and
Ukrainian president.
the Ukrainian president. It says multiple White House officials with direct knowledge of the call informed me that after an exchange of pleasantries, the president used the remainder of the call to advance his personal interests. Namely, he sought to pressure the Ukrainian leader to take actions to help the president's 2020 re-election bid.
Right. So that was their take. Again, these are the people who listened in on the calls. That was their take, not necessarily an actual transcript of the call.
No, this. Okay, correct. I mean, that's not available. They're
Right.
not releasing the
Well,
official phone call.
I think they are. I think the original transcript is going to be released. And when you see the original transcript, supposedly, all this stuff is alluded to or suggested about, but no real
I
words.
thought the stuff that they had was like the officials who did not transcribe it, but they like took notes and kind of paraphrased what he said. I also haven't heard of a full real transcript coming out.
I mean, as of yesterday, they were trying to withhold even this just from the conference. So, I mean, I highly doubt if that phone call transcript would come. But I mean, the whole purpose of whistleblowers have been a very key point of our history, both politically and economically, revealing a lot of things that are hidden from the public. I mean, should we not treat this case with respect? I mean, all opinions aside, like this is a whistleblower and they are risking a lot of No, they're risking a lot
Right.
to say this information.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, without releasing who the whistleblower is, they could still release the transcript, though, and I suspect they probably will, or key elements of the transcript. And the president has the ability to take those things and waive executive privilege
Mhm.
and put it out there. And he's done it before. He's taken a lot of things that other presidents have said, waived or taken the privilege and say, oh, we're not going to share this information.
Mhm. I think the important thing to take away from all of this, no matter which side you affiliate with, is that you truly need to do your own research, not just read simply and merely the article titles. You have to
Right.
actually delve into the first source, not the
Correct.
secondary source, not the third source.
Or the opinion source.
Yep. Mhm.
Right. And that's the problem. And and of course we're all guilty of this. We always read the opinions of people or the organizations
that we affiliate with. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. And Gage, you were correct. This individual, the whistleblower, was briefed on the call and was a part of that process.
Okay.
So
That's what I thought.
Right. But did not actually listen in on the call, just briefed on it. And that was the problem. So that's that. Interesting thing. On the CNN website, for example, they talk about, I want to read the quote, one of the headline quotes, that acting spy chief tells Congress the whistleblower did the right thing. Okay, so that's their headline, one of their pieces on the same issue, same conversation on the Fox website, same conversation, same individuals, but a different headline. They say Intel's chief's patience with Schiff wears thin after hours of questioning on the whistleblower complaint. So entirely different take of the same conversation.
Yep.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So.
All right. So in other news, the Juul CEO stepped down recently after the just recently how e-cigarettes have been attributed to many people's deaths, and the president is attempting to ban all e-cigarette flavors, like fruit flavored.
How many is
e-cigarettes.
many?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 7
What do you mean?
deaths
Deaths
from e-cigarettes.
It's growing every single day, and
I don't
those are
doubt
only
it.
those are only the people that are dying. That's not the people that are actually facing ailments because of
some
it.
people that are on
sure.
life support or breathing machines and serious issues. And the number is significant enough to where the alarm bells are going off.
Yep. And we were talking about this over the break, that it's truly sad that so much attention is being put upon e-cigarettes, for example, this epidemic, but not a lot of actual effort and political effort and change is being put upon environmental issues or even gun control issues. So just a little extra add in for that.
I think to an extent it's very easy for
for
government
change.
for a government to regulate something that's really rooted in the economy. You can raise the price of it. You can put excise taxes on it. You can, Florida raised the age that you could buy e-cigarettes, right? But with these more major issues like
it's harder
gun
to change.
control and climate change and even the immigration situation, that requires a very thorough effort and a lot of different perspectives. And I just don't think it's very easy for people to confer and to compare these perspectives and look at them from a holistic understanding to try to solve that. So I think that really needs to be taken into account. I think people need to, instead of protesting, protesting, it has a crucial role.
Right. It shines a light on an issue.
But I think beyond that, people need to organize and to have organized debate and discuss their opinions and share their potential solutions, so you can find a one that really works for everyone.
It sounds like a cogent thought. Okay, very good. We're going to take our last time out, and we'll be right back. So stick with us.
Welcome back to WSTU 1450 Treasure Coast Forum.
All
Nice
right,
job,
good
Gage.
job.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so we kind of want to lighten the tension that we've had recently on this show by talking about some good news. So, I read this article saying that NASA suggests that there might have been life on Venus about
Wow.
700 million years ago.
Yeah. So just a stone's
Yeah.
throw away. Yeah.
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 Pretty recently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
700 million years ago. That
Mhm.
was about the time the dinosaurs got extinct, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Is that true?
That was 70 million years
Yeah,
ago.
I think
70?
60.
I dropped a
Eh,
zero. Okay.
Yo,
Se-
so what?
yeah,
That's in
what's
the
a
grand
zero?
scheme of things.
Yeah,
it doesn't-
70 million years ago. So
Mhm.
that's kind of interesting. So millions of years before the dinosaurs even.
Yeah.
I don't even know what was on Earth
No.
700 million years ago.
Not a whole lot.
Greenhouse gases.
Microbes.
Yeah, a lot of
Microbes, yeah.
microbes. Yeah.
So
Right.
basically, they're suggesting this because there was a general temperature range that we see on Earth. I think that it was about 68 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And there were greenhouse gases. There was a shallow ocean. So a lot of factors.
It's
and
an Earth-sized
Yeah.
planet.
Earth-sized planet, just a lot of characteristics that Earth had at one point.
Right.
Hmm.
Fascinating.
Pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys I don't know if this was recent enough for last week's show, if there was a last week's show, but did you guys hear about the Navy, not Navy, but the Air Force and UFOs and stuff like that?
Yeah. No, it was the Navy. The Navy confirmed that there were unidentified objects in certain videos.
That stuff's cool.
I
Yep.
don't know way.
Yeah, like
mhm.
like
But the thing
confirmed.
is, you have to realize that it's not actually extraterrestrials. It's
Yeah,
just
that-
unidentified objects.
It could be
Even
yeah.
so, I
Even
mean,
so,
who is
yeah.
it?
It could have been a drone.
Wasn't there one that like went up just vertically for like 10,000 feet? I don't know, like really fast. Also, I feel like when I watched the clip on CNN because it was on YouTube and I just clicked on it, but like, I don't know. That's really interesting to me. I mean, aliens are probably super duper real considering how big the universe is.
Right.
But like, I don't know. With the possibility of life on Venus, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty cool. Also, NASA and other NASA news, NASA is attempting to have a moon landing by 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they're attempting to send at least a man and the first woman ever on the surface of Earth. I mean, not the surface of Earth, the surface of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be the first time since 1972.
Nice.
Wow.
Yep.
That'd be cool to see a moon landing. In our
That'd be
day.
nice to happen in my lifetime again. So
Yep.
yeah, I get to see both.
Dang, lucky.
It was, I tell you what, back in '69, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those moments in history where we were all one people. No
Mhm.
matter what language we spoke, no matter what culture we had,
Mm-hmm.
everybody said it was like a kumbaya moment. It was really, really cool.
I mean, that basic drive for exploration can be shared by everyone. I
Yeah.
love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Trying to just be better than, yourself and reaching out and trying to accomplish something just momentous like that. That was really cool.
Mhm.
It's hard not to run into. Man, I'm definitely like intensifying this conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's hard not to like run into the science field when that's like
Yeah.
away from the political spectrum,
Mhm.
and stuff
Right.
like that's going on. But
Right. There's some pretty exciting stuff happening in the science world. And I found an article earlier today, and I can't find it now, but there was an article that I came across that there's some sort of some sort of space radiation blast that came out of a star that they
Oh,
measured
wow.
that is actually faster than the speed of light.
Oh
no
my
way.
I was
Goodness.
reading that today, I think.
Yes, it was a news briefing, and I can't find it, but it was some
Wow.
really interesting stuff.
It's pretty
Yeah.
sad that such interesting things
Because
surpass.
Supposedly, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, I mean, that is the speed limit, 186,000 miles.
Did you
per
say
second.
faster or almost as fast?
faster.
Faster.
Oh, okay. I did not read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that I
It's gamma rays, I think, is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gamma. Yeah. I mean, it just the quantum entanglement is the idea that information can
Yeah.
be transferred like instantaneously, and that like blew people's minds,
Right.
But the idea that material, actual energy, physical mass can move faster than the speed of light it's mind-boggling. Like
Mhm.
moving faster than the light that gives it what we see. You know,
Right.
that's so crazy.
Inconceivable.
Yeah, it is inconceivable.
Right. So that's where that warp drive comes in. That's the whole notion about how to go faster than light. So you have to bend and warp space. But that actually, you have to conquer the whole notion of gravity, because now they say gravity is really a wave,
Oh,
is what they're thinking now.
There are a handful
Yeah.
of theories for gravity that you could pick and choose from. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
there's some that say it's a wave, it's a particle,
Right.
it's a depression in space time. Like
Right.
there,
It's like if you put a bowling ball on a bed, and
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
like what the way gravity bends space.
it's the Einstein. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they say that physics right now and the stuff going on at CERN has become so intangible that it's more of philosophy than it is actual physics. I mean, they're just looking with the stuff smaller than the atomic components, like the things that make up protons, neutrons, electrons, the quarks.
Mhm.
Those are intangible, but what they're looking for is they're just smashing atoms together and looking for
See what happens.
yeah,
It's a
they
fun thing we can do.
it's all in the math, which is really cool. Like the existence of those things it's proven by math.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's so intangible that people just don't know what's actually in sight. You know,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we got 1 minute.
All right, just another thing to bring up. Watch out for eating over a teaspoon of wasabi. Back here on Earth, a woman had broken heart syndrome, which is basically when your left ventricle is dysfunctional, all because she ate 1 teaspoon of wasabi mistakenly. Yep.
She thought it was avocado.
Avocado. Yep.
Yeah,
So
whoops.
just watch out back here on Earth.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out. Don't mistake the wasabi for avocado.
Yeah, it's quite
Right.
dangerous.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for that. We'll see you here next week, right here on Treasure Coast Forum.